The priest stormed out of the house, the rain wetting his hair to his head in long rat tails. He stomped down the road, his boots crashing against the cobbles. Looking at his watch, he saw he only had 20 minutes to reach the station. The last train would be going soon. He had secured a promise from the guard that he would hold until the hour unless the train itself came under attack. There was a loud boom as a shell hit the ground close to the village. The priest ducked down close to a wall, the sound of gunfire getting ever closer. Why wouldn't she come? It wasn't her place to defy him, to disobey his command, to join him in flight. He needed her. The old, young, and the infirmed he had managed to get to the train before he headed back to Beggar once again to join him. They need her now. How was he to cope without her help? As he made his way along, the sounds of warfare got closer. The number of people in the road rose steadily. Dark-faced people, filth and grime covering them, much like it must be covering him. Many carried small treasures, things of value dear to them, all making their way to the train depot. Another shell screamed in front of the surrounding hills. Everyone stopped and ducked, hugging walls and hedges, making themselves as small as possible. Then it came. Boom! This one was close. The ground shook and the explosions sounded closer than ever before. Then came the flying glass, windows broken by the shockwave. Small pieces of masonry flew in all directions. The priest stood up and turned to retrace his steps back to the house. Back to his wife for one final chance of bringing her out. Another flash as guns fired. The militia returned fire. Had she already left? Had she headed out to the fighting? Small groups of men were moving in all directions, each soaked to the skin in the rain that had been falling for most of the day now. Light was failing and the gas lamps would not be lit this evening. Yet another shell screamed over, just as he turned onto the street onto his house. Boom! It hit the building next door, sending up great spouts of debris everywhere. He quickened his pace, and then he heard it. A soft hissing sound to identify the chaos around him. He reached his neighbour's gate, and as he went to pass it, fire and light leapt from his home. The whole house seemed to be lifted up on a wave of noise, then moving in slow motion, it exploded, sending mortar and bricks in all directions. His first instinct saved him as he threw himself down behind the garden wall, the bulk of the mess flying above and over him. Was she still in there when it hit? Had she already left? He stood up dazed and confused, his ears ringing with the sound, his eyes, hair and mouth full of grit and dust. The very air a maelstrom of small objects. Nothing could have possibly survived that. The house was just no longer there. He staggered as the impact of those thoughts hit him. She was gone. And the last words they had shared were harsh and hurtful. He fell to his knees and tears blossomed from his eyes. He would never see her again. Never feel her touch on his arm as he wrote his sermons. There was shouting and gunfire coming closer. He stirred himself. In the distance, the train's whistle sounded. He had a duty to do. Nothing he could do here would bring back his home or his wife. They were gone forever, but there were still people who were counting on him. He turned away and moved off, stumbling past fleeing parishioners, each one dirtier and more ragged than the last. He broke out into a run, speeding down to the train in safety, each step taking him further away from his doomed place, this place of carnage and destruction. Splashing through puddles his clothing snagged, tearing against each new piece of broken wall.